Hello and welcome. I'm Sofiko and this is Creative Minds Speaking, a podcast where I have conversations with creative industry professionals, bringing into the spotlight those incredible people who are behind the scenes of art and entertainment is the main goal of this podcast. In today's episode, I am very happy to chat with a good friend of mine, Nicole Otero. Currently, Nicole is based in London. She works at Decca Records, which is part of Universal Music Group, as press and digital assistant. Nicole is one of the most hardworking and coolest people I know, and I'm very excited to have her as a guest. Hi, Nicole. Thanks for being here with me today. How are you doing?
Hi, Safiko. Thank you for having me. Really amazing intro, by the way. I loved your voice over this. Yeah, no, super good. Very excited to do this.
Thank you. Me too. Let's start then. Do you think you could tell us a little about yourself, your background?
Yeah. So basically, long story short, summarizing 23 years of my life, I was born in Venezuela, which is in Latin America, and then I went to uni in the United States, and then I went to do a master's in Spain, where we met. And
Mm-hmm.
after that, I moved to London, and then I got a job in music. And I guess, to be fair, though, I've always kind of been surrounded by music because my dad was an opera singer. He had some studios back home, and then when I moved to the States, I just couldn't get away from it. So
Mm-hmm.
I just it was always around it. And then I decided to finally accept my truth and went on to do a music business master's.
So once you realized that you actually want to work in this business, what were your steps toward this goal?
Yeah. So I feel like I was kind of working already in it, like since I was very little, because my parents would put me in music lessons. I would play the piano and whatnot, but I always kind of knew that I was never going to perform. It's not my passion to be on stage or anything like that. So when I realized that the business side of music was an actual career and it was just that, I don't know, it just kind of eliminated me. And I decided to try to find an academic way through it because I figured that my chances would be better to find a job if I had a kind of like a background when it came to the education side. So I did entertainment business in uni, and I just kind of took some classes that I thought that I was gonna like because I thought that I wanted to go into movies at the beginning. Then I realized that one of my classes basically just changed my whole career, like my perspective, and it was called like One Hit Wonders. So my professor basically taught me a bunch of things about like hits and stuff like that. And I moved on to doing a master's because I found out that music schools actually were teaching the business side of things. And I guess the real thing is to fake it till you make it. So I basically just been doing that for a bit after that.
Um, so before starting your current position at Decca Records, you had some experience already. Could you talk a little bit on what you were doing throughout your master's degree or
Yeah,
like even
yeah,
bachelor years? Yeah.
yeah, fair. When during uni, I decided to start helping some friends, like pseudo managing them and doing some things with promo and then just helping them get some gigs and stuff. So that was me in uni. And I thought that I wanted to go into the management side of things. Then I started doing my master's and I just kind of let those projects die a little bit because I wasn't present anymore because I moved countries basically. And when I was at Berkeley, we had the option to do uh, like a very focused practicum. So one of the ones that was offered was a record label. So what I basically did was run the marketing and digital team of the record label with a bunch of other students, and we actually brought in third party vendors and stuff like that. So it was kind of a big deal. We signed some artists, we were helping them build their brands, and yeah, that was that. It was really cool, very nice experience because it was super international and very busy. And while this was happening, um a friend and I actually started kind of like an EPK company thing. So we started connecting with a lot more artists. We try to expand our knowledge of the genres and different countries. So we kind of got some projects through there, and I kind of evolved that into becoming more of like a management arm. So I consult for some people in New York, and I also work with some people in London and just in general. I got connected, and then I just kind of try to help artists as best as I could, and it turned into management to an extent.
Wow, you did so many different things already. Would you say that all this experience is something that impressed your current employee and helps you to land a job with Decca Records?
Oh yeah, definitely. It's really interesting because when you go to an interview in the music industry for like an actual job in a company, they not only look for you to have an experience relevant to the role, but they are trying to find someone who's more holistic about it. So
Mm-hmm.
the fact that I had taken a little bit of like graphic design into stuff, and I had taken a little bit of management and threw it into the mix, and a little bit of promotions and just everything, even though the role was mostly focused on press, it's been really great to have those experiences. And I think they liked my like me on paper when they saw that I did all those different things, because they said that that bunch of skills that I was acquiring I would be able to use in it. So
Mm-hmm.
definitely like the whole the roundup of the whole thing was really cool, and being able to apply those skills was like just great.
Yeah, that's amazing. As we mentioned already, Decca is based in London. Was it hard for you to transition countries? So
Um,
different countries, I would say.
that's a really good question actually. Because I've been moving countries since I was very little. I'm not a stranger to the culture shock of different
Mm-hmm.
places, and I kind of like the thrill of getting used to a different culture. But the I guess what was the bigger issue for me was not like moving to London, but trying to find my way through the right circles to be in while I was in London, because I loved London before. I had lived here for a couple months in the past, doing like some semesters abroad and whatnot. So it was really cool, and I always wanted to come back, and I knew that this is where I wanted to be. But the real challenge came after I had already moved. So that I'm being a little bit farther from my family than I'm used to, because in general,
Mm-hmm.
like you could always take a flight for like 3 hours and get to Florida and then see my family or something like that. But being in a different continent was definitely something that I am enjoying a lot, but I'm definitely feeling the distance between me and my family.
Yeah, it's very
Hmm.
understandable. And could you please talk a little bit about Decca? Like what type of music Decca supports? What artists do you work with?
Yeah. So Decca Records is one of, or I think the oldest label in the whole Universal group. They have two main focus. The first one is the classical music, so everything that includes instrumental or opera and just classical artists. And the other focus would be jazz. But the it's really interesting because the way that Decca works in London, it's like a funnel for many different labels in the US. So the US has a lot of smaller labels that basically just throw stuff at us as the head of Europe. So I've been able to work with people from like Aurora, which is basically just pop, to the folkier side with which is like the Lumineers and Jeremy Loops and stuff like this. A lot of country as well. I was just working with Chris Stapleton, which was really nice, and like Casey Musgraves is also ours. And it's just really interesting to see how they're all separated everywhere else in the world, but for us, they all come together. So it's definitely a lot of different acts, and like from super high profiles like Andrea Bocelli to like very, very unknown people like Murray White. It's just a lot of, and different ages and different, it's very varied, but it's definitely towards the older kind of demographics. So it's
Mm-hmm.
really interesting. Yeah.
No, it sounds very interesting. And I because I know you a little bit already.
Yeah.
I know that sometimes you work with music that you don't really listen to in your
Yeah.
spare time. How would you say is it? Does it make it harder for you to work with these artists?
Um, it doesn't really make it harder, but you definitely have to put yourself out there and just admit that you don't know enough about those genres.
Mm-hmm.
So always being open to find more, or be more, inform yourself more in order to service the acts better. Because not because I don't listen to opera 24/7 doesn't mean that I cannot work in opera, or so I've come to find
Mm-hmm.
out. So yeah, no, like, and you know me, like my favorite things in the world are like pop and like indie rock.
Yeah,
But
that's why.
yeah. But no, like working with jazz and doing a lot of things outside of my comfort zone have really taught me a lot. So I think
Mm-hmm.
I don't know, I think it's been key for me to develop those skills of like always looking for alternatives. And even for Decca, it's been beneficial to have me on board because I bring in a different perspective that people don't usually see. Because just like the roster, the people that work there are usually skewed to the older demographics as well. So for them to have someone from a younger generation join in and just kind of pick apart their strategies and do more of like an analysis as to what younger people are looking for, I think it's been beneficial for them too. So both ways, I guess it works.
No, that's
But
amazing. They are so lucky to have you, honestly.
oh my
You're
god.
such a superstar.
Oh, thank you, Sofiko.
Currently you're a present digital assistant, as I mentioned already.
Hmm.
Could you please talk a little bit on what you do in your current job? Like what like you do every day, or maybe what are interesting things that you've done already?
Yeah,
And in general, how do you like working at such a big label?
it's really interesting. Definitely seeing the big machine from the inside. It's super interesting. I have only been in the office for a couple of months before the whole virus thing hit, so it's definitely changed my perspective on how the teams work because everything is now done remotely. But it's opened the possibilities for me to take on more projects. So what when I'm in the office, a normal day like me consists of a lot of admin stuff. So everything from gathering all coverage to preparing reports, to even like mailing out CDs and like putting together gift baskets, like all of that admin is basically done through me. And
Mm-hmm.
I report to two different people. So basically, I work with one person who's super core classical and one person who does basically just everything else. So, like the country, the pop, like everything else is just a different thing. So we split those. But because I report to both of them, I can kind of see both sides. So for the classical side, because it's older people, they usually send out a bunch of CDs or they usually like have drinks and stuff like that that I have to set up. For the pop side, it's definitely a little bit more creative in the sense of like I can actually give ideas for marketing. I can help them do social media strategy and just a lot of different things. Now that I'm in at home because we are not really allowed in the office, my job has decreased in terms of admin and I can actually they've given me my own projects to work on. So the development acts that usually start very little, they go through me first. I build them up to a certain level and then my bosses start taking on them and just like bringing them up to the next level which they have the connections for. And
Mm-hmm.
they always bring me along and it's super cool. And one of the things that I'm really missing, for example, from the whole experience is going to shoots and festivals, which is something
Yeah.
that we would normally be doing, like just going to do video shoots or photo shoots and just accompanying the artists and bringing journalists to different gigs all around the UK and like sometimes internationally. That's definitely something really cool that I could be doing in my job, but we'll see until next year. Yeah,
Yeah, hopefully.
yeah.
Hopefully soon it's gonna be over. We're so tired of this already, honestly, all of us.
I
Everything
think we're
sounds
all.
so yeah, everything sounds so cool and interesting, but what are the biggest challenges that you faced throughout this time working there?
Yeah, definitely adapting to the big machinery of a gigantic label like Universal, even though like that is just a sub part of it. Because when I was working in Disruption Records, which was the smaller label in Berkeley, I could basically do anything that I wanted. Like obviously my focus was on marketing, but there was no one that would stop me from helping A&R or no one that would stop me from like doing the legal side of things and stuff like this. So being in a major definitely puts you in a box because there's so many moving parts. They have to compartmentalize them. So if I'm working in digital and press, that means that A&R has already done their job, and I never saw any of it because they basically just give us the music ready. And if we're PRing an initiative in marketing, that means that the marketing team already set everything up. So
Mm-hmm.
the promotional side of things is usually the end of the line, and for me, that's been a big challenge because I'm always the person that wants to know everything, wants to do everything. Like I just want to have a hand in many things. And realizing that I can go up and ask and like I can be informed about what's happening, but the fact that I'm not necessarily involved in the process it's definitely something that's challenging for me. Um, I mean, all the challenges about working from home, like definitely a thing. And I guess it's because I studied something very holistic, as in like, oh, music business in general. I have a lot of
Yeah.
knowledge of other things that are really cool to apply to my job, but it's not necessarily the skills that were needed. So at the beginning, like writing press releases and stuff like that, that I don't know, a communications major or like journalist major could do easily. Like it took me a couple of weeks to take on and then just adapt to the format and understand why we do things the way we do. And because it is a big machine, change is hard in the bigger picture. But my team has actually adapted to a lot of initiatives, which is quite cool. And they always ask for my opinion on how we can do things easier. But yeah, no, there's a lot of challenges coming with it.
But would you say that these challenges that you're, as you said, you're kind of in a box, just doing this certain thing that you're supposed to do, is because of that you're in a smaller position? Do you think it changes once you're in a bigger positions, in a bigger role, or it's in general once you have the certain role in the big machine, the big label, it's always something that you should just focus on?
Yeah, it's really interesting because Decca specifically is a very open kind of team. So if I have
Mm-hmm.
comments on marketing, I can literally just go up to marketing and be like, "Hey, so I have an idea," and we can run with it. But from what I know of other labels, people are usually the best at what they are doing because they're separate. So they have the best marketers in, I don't know, EMI, and they focus on that solely and they never touch A&R, and they have the best A&Rs in like Polydor or something like that. And they
Mm-hmm.
would never really interact or intermix as much. But I do think that it depends. Like the more you go up in the ladder, the more things you're kind of allowed to see, if it makes sense.
Yeah.
So, for
Yeah.
example, the president of our, or yeah, I guess the co-head labels, co co-label heads. There we go. That's how you say it. Yeah, they definitely oversee a lot of things that I am not even aware of. Like they are in every single meeting. They're always across departments, and it's really nice to see. And even my direct supervisors, they get to mix a lot more with marketing, for example, than I get to do. And it's been a bit strange though, because working from home, I feel like not everybody knows what's happening when they really should, but that's because of the normal barrier of not being all together in the same space.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, no, definitely, like the more you scale, the more you can see more things, and they're never going to stop you and tell you, oh, you're not allowed to know this, or you're not allowed to do this. It's just going to be more like you need to focus on this because you have some deliverables. But then if you have your spare time, then you can join in and do more things. But yeah,
That's
that's
great.
another big challenge, by the way, having your spare time because it's so time consuming. And like
How do you manage it?
I don't sleep. So you know, like that triangle graph that it's like, oh, sleep, study and social life. Well, I decided to take up sleep.
Oh my god, this is so truly described.
The
Who is the coolest musician that you worked with so far?
coolest musician that I've worked with so far, it's interesting. It's hard because they're all in different stages and they're all in different genres. So, for example, we had like Andrea Bocelli was a really big one for everyone, and he did a performance over in Italy, and we all had to work it internationally, which was really cool. Um, we also have the soundtrack for James Bond, like the movie, and Billie Eilish is in it, and that's like a personal favorite of mine. So we've been listening to No Time to Die since January when the song came out in April, and I was like, oh my god, this is so exciting!
Hmm.
Like I finally get to see
Oh my
something from the
god, that
inside.
is so exciting!
Yeah, yeah, for real. And also like a legend of the music industry, like Shirley Bassey's last album is gonna be put through by us, and that's like a once in a lifetime thing that you get to say. Like I know that this is a overreaching in your universe, but imagine that Beyonce's last album, like you could work on it. Like that's how I feel about this. Like it's just really cool. It's a um very famous artist, and honestly a landmark of her career. So
Nicole, this is so cool. All those names that you mentioned, you literally get to work with legends. This is so crazy. This is amazing. Now let's talk about something slightly different. And my next question is, what are the highlights of your life?
oh lol. The highlights of my life. I guess being born. I'm just kidding. Okay. The I guess one of the highlights, obviously, like me moving to a different country the first time was a huge cultural shock for me. So me being able to handle uni in the United States without my parents and just like whole different language, whole different culture, I think it was a highlight of mine. I definitely peaked there. Everything else after that has been just like downfall. Just kidding. Um, oh my god, going to this is completely unrelated and like super random, so feel free to stop me. But going to Halsey's concert, that was the last concert that I went to before lockdown, and I
Uh-huh.
truly like honestly I had a moment of realization where it was like, oh my god, like the masses that were in the concert and the music which is great. I love her, so I don't know. That was amazing. Um highlights of my life. Obviously, getting to know you, Sofiko. Like, duh.
Oh,
What would
stop
my
it.
life be without you? And like, not to be fair though, meeting you and meeting everybody at Berkeley definitely a life changer experience. Um, and I guess just like the second that my my parents gave me a piano when I was like 2, I don't remember any of it, but it was literally what opened the doors for me for like what I'm doing now.
Yeah.
And yeah, and hopefully like highlights will continue. This is a very
Oh,
cool question, but it's
definitely.
very random to
Definitely.
answer.
No, I love your answer. Love it. Um, what is your personal definition of success?
Oh, I have debated with this one for a bit. That's a good one. Um, so I've never thought of success as something that happens to me. I define my success by the success of the people that surround me, and I think that
Mm-hmm.
is something that actually Beyonce said, if I'm not mistaken. Like the second I listened to that, I was like, oh shit, now it makes sense. So like for me, I know that I'm being successful or I'm taking the right steps if I see the people, my peers, or the people that I surround myself with doing cool stuff, and like if they're successful, therefore they're hanging out with someone who's also successful, hopefully.
Yeah.
So yeah, I feel like just being able to pursue what makes you happy, and it as cliche as it sounds, like I wake up every morning, I'm like, oh my god, I hate I hate that I have a day full of admin stuff, but I also love that I'm able to be a part of so many cool things. So I think it's just like waking up and being happy about the fact that I have to do so much work, and yeah. So I'm gonna say I'm successful now to a level because you guys are successful too, but I feel like we have a full horizon later.
That is such a beautiful definition of success. And that's true that I'm so thankful for you because you're
Oh.
so supportive. And that's true. Like what you're saying is true. You want your friends, your peers to succeed, and we can see it. And thank you for it. Thank you.
Yeah, Sofiko. Ah, thank you.
um, we are going towards the end of our little interview. And at the end, I always want to ask some stupid question after we talked about some serious stuff.
Hit me. That's great. Oh my god, lighter note.
Okay, the first one is not that stupid. It's like pretty interesting.
Okay.
What are your three all-time favorite books, movies, or songs? Or you can name one each.
Ooh, okay. Okay, now I'm gonna do one each.
Okay.
Okay. So favorite song as of now, because it changes literally like every week. As of now, my favorite song is Declan McKenna's "The Key to Life on Earth." It's
Mm-hmm.
beautiful. I am absolutely in love with it. I don't know what it is. I learned how to play it in piano like recently, and I it's the one song that if I'm stressed out, I play that and it just calms me down, which is really cool.
We need it. We will
Exactly.
listen to it.
Definitely. I'm not a huge reader, but I one of my favorite books was really easy to read actually is the Dan Brown's Inferno. It was just really cool,
Mm-hmm.
and then the movie came out after, which is also really nice. And definitely recommend for some suspense and kind of easy reading. And my favorite movie, oh my god, I can never get tired of this one. It's called Signs, and it's really old, but it has Joaquin Phoenix, and
Uh-huh.
it's literally just about aliens. Like, yeah.
Okay, okay. I don't think I've ever seen it, but I will. um, who is your celebrity crush?
Oh my god, which one? Wow. Uh, uh, honestly though, if this person was to literally just walk into my room and like propose, I would absolutely die. Um,
Wow.
Cara Delevingne, like literally,
Okay.
she's the person that I would drop anything for, and it makes no sense because I'm never gonna hit that point in life. I already peaked, but yeah, like that would be the one.
Okay. What is the most useless talent that you have?
Oh my god, I can juggle tennis balls.
What?
I can. It's the only thing that I can juggle. That and lemons. But like literally, it's so useless. Can't do anything with it except for make people laugh. Like that is it.
Okay. And who is your inspiration?
Oh. Um. Well, I want to say in a very cheesy personal note, my dad is really cool, and I think everything he's done, he's like his definition of success is basically just like mine, and I think I took it from him too. So my dad is definitely an inspiration. And
Mm-hmm.
musically, I think Halsey would really be one because her life story is
Mm-hmm.
just really cool. And there was like a specific moment where she basically said, um, like, I have to do this. And then she had to do like, she had to go and get an abortion to then go to a gig that basically just broke her career, like
Mm-hmm.
that same day. And I'm like, the commitment of this human. And also, like, she's just a holistic person too. So yeah, that I'm going to say yes. And you,
That's
Sofiko, of course,
beautiful.
you inspire me every day. Are you kidding me?
Thank you so much. Thank you. I think it's time to wrap up our
Woo!
session. Is there any last thing that you would like to share or to say or just anything?
Um,
Feel free right
just
now.
thank you to you, Sofiko. Like this was really great. It was a really fun experience. I liked it a lot. Yeah. Thank you for inviting me.
Thank you so much for being here. Thank you for being such a great friend. Thank you for being such an amazing professional in the industry that you're working with or working in. I love you and thank you for being here.
Love you. Thank you.